When you think about your life, you rarely consider the possibility that one day you might vanish without leaving a trace. But the truth is harsh, and it's something most people are too afraid to face. The world is filled with millions of people who lived, breathed, worked, worried, survived, and suffered, yet they left nothing behind. Not a story, not a lesson, not a memory strong enough to survive beyond a single generation. Their lives were like footsteps in soft sand, visible for a moment, erased by the next breeze. And the frightening part is that most men today are sliding into that same quiet disappearance without even realizing it. You pass people every day who are already fading. You see them sitting on park benches staring at nothing. You see them walking home from the same job they've hated for 20 years. You see them scrolling on their phones, numbed by distraction, empty of purpose, stripped of identity. These are the men who will leave the world exactly as quietly as they entered it. They will have lived a life that produced no echo, no ripple, no sign that they ever carried a heartbeat inside their chest. Their own children might not speak their name with pride or at all, because the man they were offered nothing powerful enough to be remembered. Most people don't understand that having a life isn't the same as living one. Breathing isn't the same as existing with intention, and existence is not the same as impact. A man's mission is not written for him. It's carved by force, pressure, discipline, and the willingness to live loudly enough to shake the room. But the reality is, if you don't decide who you are, the world will decide it for you, and the world always chooses the path of least significance. It places you in the background. It makes you forgettable. It gives you a life where nothing you did mattered beyond the moment you did it. You have one lifetime. One. Not a second version, not a restart, not a hidden extra chapter. This is all you get. And in that single lifetime, you will meet only a limited number of people who will ever hear your voice, see your face, witness your actions, or feel your influence. That small circle is your arena. That is your stage. That is your opportunity to carve meaning into the world. Yet so many men sleepwalk through it, thinking they have endless time to begin. They don't. You don't. Every day you delay your mission, you step closer to becoming another silent man whose name evaporates the moment he is gone. A man is supposed to live with enough purpose that his presence changes others. His words should spark thought. His actions should shape the environment. His discipline should inspire respect. But that doesn't happen accidentally. It doesn't happen while you're waiting for the perfect moment. It happens when you decide that the life you want must outweigh the comfort of the life you have. It happens when you choose effort over excuses, intention over stagnation, legacy over laziness. It is easy to drift through life unnoticed. It requires no courage. It requires no discipline. It requires no self-respect. But to live a life that echoes, to live a life that leaves something behind, that demands a different level of existence. That demands waking up every day with the awareness that your story is being written whether you participate or not. That demands treating every moment as a brick that will either build your monument or your disappearance. That demands refusing to be another quiet man who slips through the world without ever truly stepping into it. The weight of your life is measured by how loudly your existence is felt, by how deeply your values carve into the people around you, by how clearly your presence changes the direction of those who cross your path. And that weight is something only you can create. It is about understanding the silent truth that shapes every powerful life. Your environment is not neutral. The people around you, the conversations you allow, the habits you tolerate, every tiny detail in your surroundings is slowly sculpting your mind, your decisions, and ultimately your destiny. Most people move through life believing they're operating from pure personal choice, but the reality is far more subtle. You don't rise or fall alone. You rise or fall through the energy of your environment. And if you don't take control of it consciously, it takes control of you without resistance. That's why the greatest shift in any journey doesn't start with money, skill, or motivation. It starts with who and what you surround yourself with. Picture a person trying to level up while being surrounded by negativity, laziness, excuses, and small-minded thinking. Even the strongest mindset cracks when the environment is constantly pulling it downward. You don't see it immediately. It happens slowly. Your standards begin to drop. Your urgency fades. Your hunger softens. You start accepting the kind of life you once swore you'd never tolerate. People think they can stay strong while everything around them is weak. They think discipline is enough. They think ambition is enough. But nobody is strong enough to fight their environment forever. The environment always wins. That's why you see people with potential who never grow. Not because they lack talent, but because they're surrounded by anchors disguised as friends, habits disguised as comfort, and routines disguised as normal life. It is about recognizing that your environment is either a prison or a launch pad. It is either shaping you into the person you want to become or slowly suffocating the version of you that you were meant to be. And the moment you become brutally honest about this, everything changes. The moment you stop lying to yourself about the people who drain you more than they support you, the routines that waste more time than they build discipline, the mindset of those around you who laugh at your dreams because they've already given up on theirs. When that truth finally hits, you start seeing the world differently. You start noticing that the people who push you, challenge you, respect your goals, and demand more from you are rare. And those rare people are worth more than 1,000 comfortable relationships that lead nowhere. This keynote challenges you to analyze what you call normal. Because normal isn't neutral. Normal is powerful. Normal is contagious. If laziness is normal in your circle, you'll eventually catch it. If complaining is normal in your house, you'll eventually speak the same language. If small ambitions are normal in your environment, you'll start shrinking your dreams just to fit in. But the same works in the opposite direction. If discipline is normal in your environment, you rise. If hard work is normal, you push higher. If ambition is normal, you expand your limits. If accountability is normal, you grow. You become what you're surrounded by, whether you realize it or not. This keynote pushes you to audit your circle, audit your habits, audit your daily inputs with ruthless honesty. Ask yourself who you become after spending time with the people around you. Ask yourself what your energy feels like after every conversation. Ask yourself whether you're being pushed or being held in place. Your environment is constantly whispering instructions into your life, guiding you toward its level, not yours. And when you finally recognize that truth, you take back control. You stop letting your surroundings shape you, and you start shaping your surroundings. You start building an environment that fuels your goals, not fights them. You start choosing people who want to win, routines that build momentum, habits that create discipline, and conversations that expand your vision. That shift is the beginning of an entirely different life. Pain is the gateway to transformation, and most men fail to understand this. When someone leaves you, when the world takes something you thought was yours, your first instinct is to resist, to beg, to hold on tighter. But here's the truth: resistance amplifies the pain. It keeps you trapped, replaying the same scenarios in your mind over and over, weakening your resolve and feeding the chaos of your emotions. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. The difference lies in your approach. If you embrace the pain, study it, dissect it, understand why it affects you so deeply, it becomes a weapon, a compass that guides you toward growth. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment you feel hollow is evidence that your soul is being stretched, forced to evolve, to adapt, to become something stronger than before. You must understand that loss is not the enemy. Your attachment to the past is. Most men waste months, sometimes years, replaying old fights, replaying old words, replaying old failures. They try to negotiate with reality, but reality doesn't negotiate. Reality simply exists, and your response to it determines your trajectory. The moment you accept that she is gone and that the world will not pause for your sorrow, you start to reclaim power. Acceptance is not surrender. Acceptance is clarity. It allows you to see the situation without distortion, without the blinding fog of wishful thinking. Only then can you plan, strategize, and rebuild. Only then can the pain be redirected into fuel, into momentum, into action that changes your life. Pain, when embraced correctly, sharpens the mind. It forces you to examine your life in ways comfort never will. Comfort is deceptive. Comfort tells you to settle, to forgive too easily, to numb yourself with distraction. But pain cuts through all that illusion. It reveals what truly matters, what you truly desire, and what weaknesses you must eliminate to ensure it never breaks you like this again. Think about it. A man who has never lost has never truly measured his strength. He has never felt the weight of consequence pressing against him. He has never been forced to adapt under pressure. And a man who has never been forced to adapt under pressure is predictable, weak, and unremarkable. Pain is not punishment, it is calibration. It aligns your mind, your body, and your ambition to a higher standard. When she leaves, it's a brutal mirror reflecting your vulnerabilities. You see the parts of yourself you neglected, the parts of your life that were half-lived, half-disciplined, half-focused. And that reflection can either break you or make you. The choice is yours. But here's what most men fail to see. The universe is indifferent. It doesn't reward crying, complaining, or yearning. It rewards movement, focus, and adaptation. The man who channels his pain into improvement becomes unstoppable. Every rejection, every heartbreak, every loss is a lesson in disguise, a blueprint for evolution. Pain is not the end. It is the beginning of mastery, the starting line of the next version of yourself. You must also understand the strategic advantage of emotional control. When she leaves, the world expects you to crumble, to show weakness. This is the perfect opportunity to demonstrate the opposite, to move with precision, to rebuild silently, and to return stronger. Let them see the man who emerges from pain as unshakable, disciplined, and relentless. The ones who let anger, sadness, or regret dictate their actions squander their potential. The ones who embrace the pain, dissect it, study it, and use it as fuel dominate. Power is born not from comfort, but from endurance, resilience, and a willingness to stare into chaos without flinching. And here's a subtle truth most men overlook. Pain is temporary, but the lessons it teaches are permanent. Every setback has a shelf life. Every loss, if handled correctly, becomes a permanent upgrade to your character. Your discipline grows, your judgment sharpens, your tolerance for weakness shrinks. You start identifying what is truly worth your energy and what isn't. You learn to act, not react. You learn to create conditions where your value becomes undeniable, where your presence commands respect, and where the world recognizes your inevitability. The man who learns to embrace pain transforms loss into a system of personal evolution, a method of compounding power. Finally, you must confront the uncomfortable truth. Your attachment to what was is a prison. The sooner you understand that liberation comes from detachment, the sooner you begin to win in every arena of life. Detachment does not mean lack of emotion. It means mastery over your emotional state. It means using pain not as an anchor, but as a catapult. When you internalize this, you understand something few ever do. The moment of departure is the moment of awakening. Your comeback begins the instant you stop begging the universe to restore what was lost and start engineering what is yet to come. Pain becomes your greatest teacher, your most loyal mentor, and your ultimate source of power. When someone leaves, it's easy to feel like a part of you has been stolen. You look in the mirror and see someone smaller, weaker, unsure. But here's the reality. Nobody can take your identity unless you give it to them. Your identity is not defined by others' presence, approval, or attention. Your identity is forged in the choices you make, the discipline you enforce on yourself, and the values you refuse to compromise. If you allow your sense of self to hinge on another person's presence, you have already surrendered control over your life. And that is the trap most men fall into. They mistake attachment for love, presence for validation, and comfort for stability. The moment she leaves, you are confronted with a choice: shrink into the role of the abandoned, or rise into the role of the architect of your own destiny. Reclaiming your identity requires brutal honesty. You must assess every part of yourself that allowed dependency, weakness, or complacency to take root. Most men avoid this self-assessment because it is painful, uncomfortable, and threatening. But comfort is the enemy of greatness. Pain is the instructor, and clarity is the prize. You need to ask yourself, where have I settled for mediocrity? Where have I tolerated habits, thoughts, or relationships that diminish my value? Which parts of me were negotiable, and which parts were sacrificed to avoid confrontation or risk? Only when you answer these questions truthfully do you gain the power to reconstruct yourself from the foundation up. A man who reclaims his identity understands the power of action. Thoughts, wishes, regrets, and fantasies are useless unless they are translated into disciplined effort. Every moment you spend dwelling on what was lost is a moment wasted, a moment that could have been invested in building a stronger, sharper, more capable version of yourself. Action is the ultimate antidote to despair. It transforms helplessness into mastery, doubt into confidence, and fear into momentum. The man who moves decisively in the aftermath of loss sets the tone for his entire future. The man who hesitates, who waits for validation, who clings to the past, becomes stagnant, predictable, and irrelevant. Your identity is rebuilt in motion, in sweat, in relentless pursuit of personal excellence. Control over your identity also means control over your environment. A man who has been abandoned must examine the spaces, routines, and relationships that weakened him. Surroundings matter because they influence the mindset. If your life is full of distractions, toxic influences, or energy-draining habits, you will struggle to regain dominance over yourself. This is not about avoiding people. It's about cultivating conditions where your highest potential is inevitable. This is about eliminating friction, focusing relentlessly on self-improvement, and refusing to give energy to things that do not serve your mission. Environment shapes behavior, and behavior shapes identity. Reclaim your environment, and you reclaim yourself. Reclaiming your identity is also about mastering emotional sovereignty. When someone leaves, the natural reaction is anger, grief, or obsession. But these emotions, if uncontrolled, consume your energy and warp your decisions. A strong man acknowledges the pain without being controlled by it. He feels deeply, processes fully, and then channels every ounce of emotional energy into building, creating, and conquering. Emotional mastery is the difference between a man who pines for what was and a man who shapes what will be. It is not suppression, it is direction. It is understanding that your mind and emotions are tools, not masters. Furthermore, reclaiming your identity requires embracing responsibility for every aspect of your life. No one owes you reconciliation, validation, or attention. No one is obligated to restore what was lost. The universe is indifferent, and opportunity favors the prepared, the relentless, the disciplined. The moment you stop looking outward for solutions and start constructing them internally, your power multiplies exponentially. Responsibility is freedom in disguise. By taking full accountability for your actions, your growth, and your future, you step into a version of yourself that is unstoppable. You stop being a spectator in your own life and start being the force that drives it. Finally, reclaiming your identity is a process of becoming inevitable. Every action you take, every habit you reinforce, every boundary you enforce, compounds into a version of yourself that cannot be ignored. People notice strength, presence, and discipline, and respect follows naturally. Your comeback becomes unstoppable not because of external validation, but because your internal alignment makes you a man who cannot be derailed. Identity is not restored in waiting or wishing. It is restored in decisive, consistent, and unapologetic action that signals to the world that you are no longer vulnerable, no longer negotiable, and no longer defined by what was taken from you. Pain is universal, but what separates the men who rise from the men who crumble is how they respond to it. When she leaves, the sting isn't just emotional. It's a mirror held up to every weakness, every unresolved fear, every part of yourself you've neglected. Most men freeze in that moment, drowning in regret, self-pity, or obsessive thoughts. They allow the departure of someone else to define their existence. But the men who become unstoppable understand a fundamental truth: pain is fuel, not a prison. Pain is the raw material from which greatness is forged. It's the hammer that reshapes a man's character, the fire that tempers resolve, the weight that strengthens resolve. To transform pain into power, you must first stop identifying as the victim and start identifying as the architect. The first step in this transformation is acknowledging your suffering fully. Don't numb it, don't rationalize it, don't pretend it doesn't exist. Feel it. Sit with it. Understand the depth of its presence. The mind resists pain because pain threatens the ego, threatens comfort, and threatens the illusion that life is safe. But once you confront it, once you stare it down without flinching, you discover a profound truth. The pain doesn't control you, you do. By embracing your discomfort instead of fleeing from it, you take the first step toward reclaiming the energy it has been draining from you. Pain, when harnessed, becomes a compass pointing toward areas of your life that require growth, discipline, and mastery. Next, you convert pain into strategy. Emotions without direction are destructive. Emotions with purpose are transformative. Analyze the situation ruthlessly. What can you learn from her leaving? What weaknesses in yourself did it expose? Where were you too passive, too attached, or too complacent? And then most importantly, what actions can you take to ensure that you never feel this powerless again? A comeback is not about revenge or external validation. It's about dominance over your own life. It's about turning every setback into a blueprint for advancement. Every rejection, every heartbreak, every failure becomes a lesson, a stepping stone, a proof of your capacity to endure and evolve. Discipline becomes the vehicle through which pain transforms into power. Every morning, every decision, every commitment to self-improvement is a declaration you are not a victim of circumstance. You are a man in control of his destiny. Exercise, focus, work, mastery over skill. These are not mere routines, they are statements of sovereignty. They communicate internally and externally that you are building yourself into someone whose life is defined by purpose, strength, and momentum rather than by what others give or take from you. Pain is the spark, but discipline is the engine that carries you forward relentlessly. Another crucial element in the transformation is isolation. Solitude is often misunderstood as loneliness, but it is, in reality, the laboratory of self-reinvention. In solitude, you are forced to confront truths that distractions mask your fears, your excuses, your untapped potential. The man who uses isolation wisely emerges sharper, clearer, and more formidable. He is no longer seeking validation from the people around him. He validates himself through action, through standards he refuses to compromise, through a relentless internal code. Isolation is uncomfortable, yes, but discomfort is the currency of transformation. Every minute spent confronting yourself alone is a minute invested in becoming someone who cannot be shaken by external loss. Pain also teaches speed. Time waits for no man, and the longer you wallow, the more opportunity slips away. The moment of heartbreak is the ideal launchpad for urgency. It is a unique chance to pivot, to accelerate, to reclaim control before stagnation sets in. The comeback doesn't wait until readiness feels perfect. Readiness is a myth. Action itself creates readiness. Every move you make in the aftermath, every choice to push yourself harder, every refusal to settle into comfort is compounding toward an unstoppable version of yourself. Pain becomes a signal to act, to dominate, to escalate, and to build the foundation of your next level. Finally, transforming pain into power requires vision. You must see the life you want not as a distant fantasy, but as an inevitable outcome of relentless work and unwavering focus. The pain is temporary, but the results you construct from it are permanent. You become someone who cannot be ignored, who cannot be dismissed, and who no longer defines himself through loss, but through the magnitude of his comeback. Every setback, every wound, every moment of despair is fuel. And the man who understands this truth turns every scar into a weapon, every memory of loss into a motivator, and every moment of adversity into a milestone on the path to greatness. The final step in your transformation begins with a stark realization: the past is gone, and the person who was hurt yesterday no longer has to dictate who you are today. When she leaves, it is not the end. It is the starting line for the man you were always capable of becoming. Most men fail because they cling to what is lost, to memories, to attachment, to resentment. They attempt to negotiate with their emotions instead of taking command of them. But those who rise understand that the departure of someone else is merely a symptom of their previous inaction. The real opportunity lies not in regret, but in reconstruction. To rebuild, you must first strip everything down to its essentials: your habits, your focus, your energy, and your principles. Anything that does not serve the version of yourself you are building must be eliminated. This is the art of total personal reinvention. Rebuilding starts with accountability. You cannot rebuild from blame, from excuses, from imagining that someone else owes you resolution. Every man who experiences loss must first accept his role in the circumstances that allowed it to happen. Acceptance is not weakness, it is empowerment. By taking full responsibility, you reclaim agency. You no longer wait for permission, for recognition, or for alignment from the outside world. Every decision becomes yours alone, every action a declaration of sovereignty. Pain has taught you lessons, now action cements them into permanent strength. Momentum is your next weapon. Once you commit to self-reconstruction, hesitation becomes your enemy. Action must be relentless, purposeful, and strategic. Each day without delay is a day closer to dominance over the version of yourself that allowed her to leave. You move faster, work harder, and focus sharper than you ever have. Small victories compound into massive shifts. The man who rebuilds does not stumble through life expecting miracles. He manufactures results. Every workout, Every skill learned, every financial decision, every mental challenge faced is part of a carefully constructed blueprint for power. Momentum is unstoppable once you commit. Even setbacks accelerate growth because they become opportunities for refinement. Your energy becomes your signature. The man who rebuilds cannot afford distractions, toxic relationships, or wasted time. He understands that his presence, his confidence, his aura of self-possession is the most potent tool he possesses. She may have left, but she and everyone else will recognize the new man you have become. Confidence is not taught. It is forged through struggle, refinement, and deliberate mastery over your own existence. You do not ask for respect. You command it through visible competence and unshakable focus. Your life radiates a magnetic quality that pulls in opportunity, admiration, and influence while repelling weakness, distraction, and compromise. Rebuilding also demands strategy. Random effort produces chaos. Intentional effort produces transformation. You must know your target, understand the steps necessary to reach it, anticipate obstacles, and position yourself to overcome them efficiently. Life rewards clarity and punishes aimlessness. You are no longer reacting to circumstances. You are designing outcomes. Every choice, every interaction, every investment of your time is aligned with the man you are becoming, not the man you were. Strategy transforms emotion into results. Your pain, once chaotic and consuming, now fuels precise execution. The final principle of living beyond the past is elevation. Once you rebuild and dominate yourself, you stop being bound by what others do, say, or feel. You operate on a higher plane. Emotional dependency, attachment, and validation become irrelevant. Your mission is not to recover what was lost. It is to surpass it. Every loss is reframed as a stepping stone. Every setback is transformed into leverage. You are no longer chasing anyone's approval. You are creating a life of authority, purpose, and undeniable value. The past becomes a reference, not a master, and as you elevate, something extraordinary happens. You become untouchable. Not because life is perfect, but because you are resilient beyond expectation. You walk through challenges with poise, handle setbacks with composure, and create progress when others hesitate. You have transformed heartbreak into strategy, pain into momentum, and absence into opportunity. The man who rebuilds is no longer defined by loss. He is defined by the heights he attains in the aftermath. You become someone whose presence shifts dynamics, whose confidence inspires respect, whose vision redefines limits. Every action is a testament to your power, and every choice affirms that you are no longer a spectator of life. You are the architect of your destiny now. Everything comes full circle. You felt the pain, endured the betrayal, faced the uncertainty, and witnessed your own limits. But pain is not your enemy. It is your teacher. Every lesson, every setback, every moment of loss has prepared you for this exact point, the moment where you reclaim your life, your identity, and your power. Let her leave. Let the circumstances that broke you once serve as fuel for the man you are becoming. The world doesn't owe you anything, and it will never hand you success or respect on a silver platter. But you do owe it to yourself, to your potential, to your vision, and to the version of you that refuses to settle. Your comeback is not about her, it's about you. It's about the man who rises, unshaken by absence, unbroken by rejection, unstoppable in pursuit of mastery. This is the man who turns pain into power, heartbreak into momentum, and setbacks into strategy. Every choice you make from here on determines the heights you will reach. You are no longer the man who waits, who hopes, who pleads, or who fears. You are the man who acts, who dominates, who builds, and who thrives. Your life is your creation, your rules, your mission, so rise. Rebuild, focus, execute. The pain of yesterday becomes the fuel for the legacy of tomorrow. And when you finally look back, you won't just have survived, you will have conquered, you will have elevated, and you will have become a man who cannot be shaken, stopped, or ignored. Your comeback starts now. Take it